give them this full presentation and tell them what we're doing and say, please write to the Ministry of Finance. And they look at us and say, you know, the microprocessor policy has still not come out. We expected to take 4 years, so please come back 4 years later. And then we'll write that letter. So, you know, think about it. You've got this machine ready, you've got customers who pay you advance, they're willing to pay you the balance, you bought all the parts. So it used to on a Saturday, we used to work half day Saturday in India in those days. The government used to work second and third or second and fourth or something like that. But whatever. So we go home very depressed. Everyone takes this exercise book home and says, let's have a look at it again and carefully. And then you discover, you know, somehow we were the replacement for IBM. And that obviously helps. It's in their mind that you try and reinforce it without really reinforcing it. But you know, those are the breaks that always help. And as I said, you know, the way you got to live your life is, you're dead now. It did take 4 years. So, you know, I just wanted to give you an idea. That was the kind of environment we worked in India at that time. I mean, it was a lot of fun. The other thing I wanted to mention was, you know, we always had an ambition that we'd be a global company rather than an Indian company. We didn't want to be a big fish in a small pond. We wanted to be a small fish in a big pond. And so in 1980, I think it was, we actually went to Singapore and said, let's manufacture our computers in Singapore. We were actually the first computer company to do that. We got pioneer status with the Singapore government, and the model was not to sell computers, but to sell solutions. So what we do is, we check what the customer wanted, we tell our people, and we set up an office in Madras, because Madras and Singapore had 3CD, as we called it, Software Export Division in Madras. Software was not treated as an industry, it was treated as a trade. So we came under the Shops and Establishments Act, not the Companies Act. And the Shops and Establishments Act asks you to keep lots of registers and all sorts of stuff, which we just weren't used to, you know. And so we were lobbying with the Tamil Nadu government to try and change it as software should be an industry, not a trade. Now, in the meanwhile, Spick McKay, and by the way, the guy who runs Spick McKay is not me. It's one day Shivnada, who's the chairman, comes to me and he says, what's this Spick McKay? And I said, oh shit, chori pakri dina. So I asked him, why do you want to know? He said, you know, we've got a clearance for software as an industry. I said, how did that happen? He said, these guys from Tamil Nadu, these bureaucrats from Tamil Nadu saw this ad, which was sponsored by Hindustan Computers Limited. He said, you know, if you're doing this kind of thing, the company must have a soul. So we'll take your word for it. And, you know, but you know, it's funny to see how Spick McKay was responsible for getting software, which is now, I think, 10% of our GDP, established or recognized as an industry rather than as a trade. So, you know. So 10 years, he placed an order with advance for this computer. So I thought I better go meet him because you don't want a bad reference and stuff. So I go to this guy and say, you know, like, in a polite way, I don't say it that directly, why are you spending so much money to buy this computer? What are you going to do with it? And so he said, look, basically, I compete with Dunlop and Madras Rubber Factory and all these MRF and all these people. And I have 200 customers. I just want to make sure my 200 customers stay with me. And so what I want is, I will give you the data that this customer, his wife's name is this, anniversary, this birthday, this kid's name is this, he has this coffee, black with 1 sugar, he likes this Chinese food or whatever. I'll give you all the data, just put it in. When that guy comes to see me, I want to check this before he comes. So I give him his coffee exactly the way he wants. I order the right Chinese food, the right dish that he likes, etc., etc. Again, CRM, if you look at it in today's language. You know, I think a month or so after we delivered, I'd gone to see him. He told me the computer's paid for itself. He said, none of my 200 customers are going to move anywhere, right? Hey, that's what. So it's amazing what people did with these computers in the old days. Yeah, so midlife crisis, I went back. We ran into a problem here at HCL America. We came here to sell hardware in the US. We had a big order. The order went south because the company got bought by SCI out in Texas. And SCI wanted Intel only, and we were Motorola, 68,000 based. So I was sent here, and the person handling this went in for a bypass, and those days bypasses weren't common. So I was sent here to make sure he didn't overstrain himself and to shut down the company. Enabling technology companies, databases, compilers, porting them into a multiprocessor machine software so that they work efficiently on our machine, porting them on our multiprocessor machine. So when we decided to get out of hardware, I think we were 30 odd million to about 200 million when we sold it to Genpact for 550 million in May 2011. So again, I thought, this time I didn't make the mistake. I had planned my retirement, and so I didn't retire. We were looking to acquire some companies which we didn't acquire in Headstrong, so I went and worked with them because I thought they had potential. I've got a couple of them sold, and right now I'm actually working, advising a number of startups, but two that I'm actively working with. One is a education content company in the K-12 that's moving into higher ed right now. And the other one is a really interesting healthcare company that is doing rural telemedicine for poor folk in India, where we charge 100 rupees to get them connected to a doctor and get advice from a regular doctor at a regular hospital. And that's sort of keeping me busy. Startups tend to, how should I put it, tend to keep you busy because first of all you're working with completely new people. They've never done startups before, helping them how to scale, how to set up things, how to do things, I think. So that's what I'm doing right now. As my wife says, I'm busier now than I was when I was the CEO of Headstrong, and I keep telling her I had a team then, I don't have a team now. And of course you don't help unless you give me a sandwich for lunch. But yeah, that's where I am right now. I thought I'd give you that background so you can help me, tell me what I should be doing as we go forward. Telling Aman that I'll do an anti-keynote instead of giving you gyan, I would look for gyan from you. But that's what I've done. It's been a simple life. I've just followed my cards. I mean, you're dealt a set of cards. I mean, you always have what's with you, and just take advantage of any opportunity or crisis that comes up. And that's really how I look at life. That hey.
While Aman is walking up.
It was very interesting to talk. It was excellent, because you worked in an environment where there was still a protected environment, the government protections and all this kind of system. And it is still there, in a lot of places, especially for a company like ours, which is trying to kind of solve traffic congestion problems and road safety issues, which are essentially government-owned around the world right now. But a lot of the VCs kind of are shoving us away, or kind of not willing to work. What advice would you have, on how to raise money, or how did you guys raise money to kind of build computers in those days, especially as a small startup? 1,75,000. With that, were you able to bootstrap yourself?
No, those days you could, when you had parts, you could get, you could discount them 60% or so with the banks. So the banks, without realizing it, were the VCs in our time. And they were happy to get the interest. Basically, that's how it worked. We didn't actually, till we went public, some 20 years later, we didn't get any money from outside. It was all generated internally.
Would that be of interest to you to kind of advise a startup who's trying to tackle much more challenging problems like you tackle?
These cycles were quicker than annual. So they were always regulating what we didn't need, which was really nice. Right. So we never really got regulated per se once we got into the business.
Okay, so thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, and the next thing we are going to have is a lightning round. This is what I was talking about, the TED-style talks. So you can see we have 3 of these talks lined up. I'm going to introduce all 3 speakers, and then we will have each one of them come up. And at the end of the 3 talks, we'll invite all the speakers to come up and receive a gift. I just wanted to say we will not have a Q&A session, but after the talks, they will be available to answer any questions outside of PhD Engineering from Stanford University. So he will be starting the lightning talks. He will be followed by Shal Kumar, who is the founder and president of Nalanda 2.0, which is a non-profit organization. It's a think tank for higher education. And he's also author of Building Golden India, which is one of the books you will see outside on the bookshelf that I was talking about earlier. In January 2017, a Nobel laureate presented this book to Prime Minister Narendra Modi. So do check out his book. Prior to writing this book, he was administrator of UC Berkeley and UC San Diego. He has also been a CEO of a couple of startups and executive in several Fortune 500 companies before that. Last but not the least, we have Parag Havaldar, who's also from IIT Kharagpur. And he has been involved in computational solutions to create digital characters for entertainment in movies and games. So talking about, in 2017, he was awarded a Technical Achievement Award by the Academy of Motion Pictures for his pioneering work that led to the creation of realistic and stylized digital faces using actors' performances. So a lot of these 3D movies and characters you see in movies like Amazing Spider-Man, Alice in Wonderland, Watchmen, Green Lantern are all inspired by some of his works. He has written several technical articles in many leading journals and conferences, and he has been awarded numerous patents in this field. So he will be the last speaker today. So without further ado, let me invite Dilip George to kick off the lightning rounds.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity to speak here. This is a great conference. So when I was sending over the slides, my office administrator asked me, why are you sending 30-minute talk slides to a 10-minute talk? And I told her, hey, this is IIT conference, I can speak at my normal speed. And honestly, I thought, 9:30 का class है कोई नहीं आएगा, but now I'm in trouble. So I'm going to talk about artificial intelligence, how to build AI, and to understand that we have to answer this question: what is intelligence? And I have a very simple definition for that. It's the ability to model this world and to act on it. What's important to remember is that it's actually possible to act on the world without modeling it. A lot of people do that. In fact, if you look at the history of evolution, history of intelligence, all the animals that came before mammals, they all acted on the world without modeling it. This is called the old brain. All these animals that came before birds or humans, mammals, they all have this old brain and they can act without modeling the world. So here is an example of that. Here's a frog hunting for birds. So it will keep going at this. It is not getting any feedback from the world, and it's not using any feedback. Even though it's not getting any nutrition out of that activity, it would keep going at it. This is model-free behavior, and always lands things in the So here is a modern-day version of it. So this is. This is the recent achievement of deep reinforcement learning, playing Atari games. So on the left-hand side is the training game. This is the game on which the system is trained, and it is playing it really well. But on the right-hand side is the same system playing the game when you move the paddle by 3 pixels up. So you can see that it's not able to play the game. It is missing the ball most of the time. Probably can't see the ball on it, but just trust me, it is missing. So that's a modern day version of it. And here is a picture from a recent paper on deep neural networks. What it's showing is that these neural networks, which are trained on enormous amount of data, can actually be fooled by making small perturbations. So here it is, you can see pictures of really noise getting recognized as robins, or some wavy patterns getting recognized as starfish. These are all recognized with almost 99% certainty that these are really starfish or freight car or jackfruit, etc. So a lot of people in this world are worried about robots taking over, machines taking over. And I tell them, given the current state of affairs, you don't have to worry about robot pricing. Here is my solution to that. What you have to do is, instead of wearing this white t-shirt, you wear this t-shirt with this pattern on it, and the robot will think that you are a starfish and you can escape. How do you go from? So the reason for this is easy to understand. If you think about how AI works today, you have a box. It's a black box. You can put any neural network in it, and in comes training data, and also you provide supervision using labels, and you can train it using any algorithm. You can train it using Bayesian descent or evolutionary algorithms or reinforcement learning. But finally, what you get is a stimulus to response box, and that box is one inscrutable, and it also doesn't have much ability for thinking, imagination, etc. All those characteristics that we associate with intelligence. So how do you go from today's AI, which is old brain, to the new brain? So all this stuff is old brain. How do we go from there to new brain? So there are two things that you need to do. One is take neuroscience and cognitive science seriously. That's what tells us what intelligence is and how to build it. And focus on data efficiency and task generality. So let me explain.
I'm going to talk about India's higher education, a very different topic than the others. $10 trillion opportunity. It is my objective and hope that I will inspire you, stir your minds, and spur your interaction. Now, most of us call US our home. We live and work here. Our kids go to schools and colleges here. We are invested in the future success of the United States. Yet most of us grew up in India. We call it our home. We went to IITs there. We have fond memories. We have deep emotional attachment to the family members, friends, and the nation. We are invested still in the well-being of the country. And it's with that deep desire to give back that for over 15 years I volunteered for IIT Kharagpur and its alumni network and Pan-IIT alumni movement. And during the course of those thousands of hours of volunteering, I realized my heart beats not just for India, but also for higher education. So in 2006, I quit my role as Senior Director of Corporate Strategic Planning at Lam Research and joined the University of California, Berkeley. I was really struck by the deep commitment to student learning outcomes that the university leadership, the faculty members, and deans that across the campus had. Also, their commitment to conducting research and making an impact to the society and the nation. And I asked myself, why is that India, after over 6 decades of independence, does not even have one world-class multidisciplinary research university like a UC Berkeley or a Stanford University? In fact, India has just one university in the top 500 of global rankings. USA, on the other hand, leads this metric by a margin. It has 137 universities in top 500. China has a very impressive 41. Singapore, which is smaller than most major Indian cities, has 2. And South Korea, which got its independence after India and was one of the poorest nations in the 1950s, has 11 compared to India's 1. Now, it's a badge of honor to be an IITian. And if you look at India's premier brands of IITs, IIMs, and AIMS, they collectively enroll less than 0.5% of the total students enrolled in India's colleges. In fact, this metric represents is a deep symptom of a big problem in India, which is a severe shortage of excellent higher education institutions. In fact, the problem is so bad that parents are spending $50 billion a year, 40 billion of which is on private coaching to improve their students' chances of getting into premier institutions. And $10 billion a year is spent on sending their kids overseas for higher education. Now, if you look at India's gross enrollment ratio, which is currently at 27%, again it lags the rest of the world by a margin. And it is a measure of, it's a percentage of students who could have gone into colleges versus the total population of 18 to 23-year-old. Industry is spending 6 to 12 months in training these recent graduates for productive work. Fellow IITians, India's higher education system is in crisis. Now, why does this matter? Why does it matter more than other crises that 80% are below the age of 25? 75% are under the age of 40. Preparing and educating these young men and women for their lives and careers is India's defining challenge and opportunity of the 21st century. India is also a nation that has a lot of challenges. I call them its mega challenges. It affects over 100 million people each of these challenges. Now, these challenges are complex. They require interdisciplinary approaches to solving them. they're also interconnected problems. And if you hear some industries will be decimated, some will be recreated, but jobs will be destroyed. Therefore, more than ever before, education is going to be the key for India. And higher education is going to be the master key. The three reasons for higher education to be the master key for India. One, it prepares the next generation of professionals and leaders. A vibrant system prepares teachers who go teach in K through 12, faculty members in higher education, professionals in all sectors of the society, and government officials in all fields. And as we know from Silicon Valley as in our personal experience, it's the people that develop products. It's the people who drive policies, organize resources, manage resources, drive productivity. So from a higher education system, this particular outcome or impact that higher education makes is really important for India and its future. A vibrant system also solves problems that matter to the nation and society. Take UC Berkeley's professor, physics professor Arthur Rosenfeld. He was also a researcher at Lawrence Berkeley National Labs. His work on energy policies and standards have contributed to California using 30% less energy per capita than the rest of the United States. It is also estimated that his work is contributing $100 billion of savings every year. A world-class system also spurs the research, innovation, and startup ecosystem. Across the bay from UC Berkeley at Stanford University in 2015, it generated or raised $1.3 billion in research funding. Technology licensing revenues were about $110 million, and the startups by its faculty, alumni, and students generated $2.7 trillion in revenues. So if you look at all the three things, the three big things that the higher education system can do, you can realize that it's like a tree that keeps on giving to the students, parents, industry, society, and the nation. We know the value of a world-class higher education system. Inspired by my work at UC Berkeley and UC San Diego, I wrote a book in 2015, Building Golden India, How to Unleash India's Vast Potential and Transform its Higher Education System Now. I was really basis. Now this is not just good for India and its youth and the nation. It's great for the US-India strategic relationships and the global humanity. Now I started my presentation with the number 0. I like to end with number 1, the power of 1. You have the power to create and build a world-class higher education system in India. What will you do? Thank you.
So, we all watch movies, and we all know that a lot of technology is used to create movies, but ultimately, movies are about storytelling. So, let me tell you a story. A man walks into an Irish bar, and there are lots of faces. He goes and sits next to an old man. The old man has a face that is very sad. And then looks around, there are lots of other faces, he's looking their way and giving them glances and sniggering. So he asks the old man, what's wrong? So the old man gets up, slams down his beer, and says, see that bar? I built that bar with my own bare hands. For the finest wood in the county, I cut it and I put it plank by plank by plank. Give it more love and care than my firstborn. But do they call me McGregor, the bar builder? No. Points out the window and says, see that bridge? I built that bridge with my bare hands. I bought all the rocks from the county. I placed them side by side by side. It took me 6 blooming months. Did they call me McGregor, the bridge builder? No. Points to the other direction. See that pier? I built that pier with my bare hands. I poured down the piles plank by plank by plank through the tide and the sun and the wind. But did they call me McGregor, the pier builder? No. But you fuck one goat. So now, if this storytelling is about communicating a setup, and if this setup was to unfold in front of your eyes in a cinematic manner, you will have McGregor the actor, and all of us will cue in onto this face to understand the frustration and the emotional empathy that is going through. In today's world of storytelling with the creative powers that be, we need to have digital actors with digital faces. It turns out that faces are very important for communication. None of us in this room has not looked at our faces since the morning. But it turns out in computer graphics, building a face, building a real face, animating it, and rendering it is one of the most challenging problems and expensive problems to do. So, today we know a lot more about faces. We, from a neuroscientific point of view, we know that there's a special dedicated area in the cortex that is specialized and dedicated just for facial processing and facial activation. From a psychological perspective, we know what faces, how important faces are to behaviors. From a engineering perspective, you can very unceremoniously think of a signal as a multi-channel signaling device. So let's go back to 2002 when the entire industry was reeling in the success of the movie Lord of the Rings, which had its first digital character, Gollum, which took screen space for a long time. And so when big Hollywood directors were like Robert Zemeckis, Steven Spielberg, James Cameron were coming to our studios at Sony Pictures and others with their projects that had multiple digital characters and multiple digital faces, we knew we need to have a scalable solution to build these faces and animate them. So the goal we went down was called performance capture. And in performance capture, the idea there is instead of animating all the faces and bodies by an animator, we help them by trying to capture the essence of acting by having an actor act as directed by a director and use those signals to drive a digital character. So here's an example.
I don't want to steal drugs from my father. I don't want to go inside a monster. I don't want to die. I think it's worth a shot. Yes, I agree. Let's do it.
So it shows you a director directing all the actors, and there are systems that are capturing those signals, and there are algorithms that are driving all the faces and bodies together. So there are two big problems to solve that we had to go down on. One was to capture an actor's performance as directed by a director, and this is mostly an engineering problem, to devise sensors and systems to capture all those signals. And the second one, which is more like a new ground to us at that point of time, was to translate that performance and translate it onto a digital character. And for this, we had a confluence of multiple fields, from biomechanics to psychology to computing also. And so we built these systems where we have actors put on electroreflective markers, and this is borrowed from motion capture, but it was never built to this scale. We had about an array of 300 machine vision cameras that were capturing all this data and trying to make sense of it ultimately. And initially started off with all these actors acting together. And this is a big challenge because there was no system built that could capture 20 minutes, 20 actors together to come up with a performance capture. And at first, the systems had a high footprint with like all those cameras, but later on we moved to a more lesser footprint of technology on set, where we could use a few video cameras. In all this, one thing to point out is this problem space was daunting, yes, but most of the solutions that were required for this were kind of not known, but at least we proved to this research going on in computer vision at that point of time, especially at the University of Oxford, Carnegie Mellon, and all around the world, where we could deal with optical flow, tracking, multiple geometry, and 3D reconstructions. But a bigger problem that we had to create next, or solve next, was how do we use it to drive a digital face? And faces are very important because as you get closer and closer to reality, you can really make out any micro-significant difference that affects your communication or understanding what the digital face is saying. And so for this, we had to go think out of the box and talk to plastic surgeons in Beverly Hills, to talk to medical experts, facial anatomy, psychologists, and ultimately honed down on this theory where we borrowed from psychology. This is called a facial action coding system. And what this is the first theory that was actually metrically measuring a face. And what this theory says is that although there are lots of muscles that drive your face, they group together in something known as action units. And Paul, who propounded this theory, showed us how many empirical action units there were. And he also had a way of subjectively measuring them. But when you look at this subjective measurement, you engineer think of a regression, and we try to replace it by their actual motion capture equivalent, performance capture equivalents, and we could then solve this to make a mathematical solution. So we went into a room and calibrated all these actors making all these faces, all these action units, and I had a good time playing a director role for the first time in my life, capturing all these faces. And ultimately, these go to things right into the face. So let's see some early examples that we use. Here is a system at work.
Anything to help out my...
There should be sound on this.
Anything to help out?
The hero comes home.
And finally, here is another version.
Anything to help out my friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Close to the other. And finally, I'd like to give you, in the remaining few minutes, a good example of how these technologies were used to create different animations in the movie world that I work on. Finally, to end a few words on where these technologies have gone or are going. Nowadays, with more stronger computational sensors and smarter algorithms, you will find these algorithms of driving faces make their way towards simple applications of communication. For instance, Snapchat filters use simple technologies. But overall, I think in the team of communication, it's plausible to think how your own actions can lead to telepresence, and the technology is coming out with that soon into the future. But a differentiating point is that all these are still work by mimicking. You have a performance being performed and it's being mimicked. There will be an interesting world, especially in the world of AI, when all these systems start working by activation, where muscles get activated in response to a stimulus, and we have an AI system that can give a face to all the communications. And so lastly, since this is about movies and I went to Kirkwood, I have to end my talk on Darapolo Lights.
And the leap to the stage and receive a gift from Meenakshi Kaul, who's the IIT Kharagpur Bay Area chapter president, and she's also the content chair for today's conference. So if you're enjoying all the content that you have gotten so far in the rest of the day, she's the person to thank. So let me invite her. Yes, it's a team effort, of course.
In due course, once my appeal is decided, I will have a chance to tell my side of the story. while I continue to fight the injustice in my case, I have to candidly admit that I made errors and misjudgments. And for that, I take full responsibility. Up until 2011, I had the privilege of working with so many great institutions, IITs, Harvard Business School, McKinsey, Indian School of Business, Public Health Foundation, Gates Foundation, and so on. They made me who I am. And I was also fortunate enough to play a leadership role that shaped many of these institutions. But most importantly, I aspire to be a role model for many of the young people who were part of these institutions, who looked up to me. One of my greatest regrets is I did let them down. I want to apologize to all of you at IIT alumni that I really did not live up to the highest standards you would have rightly expected me to do. I genuinely ask for your forgiveness and understanding. That life is a series of experiences. Nothing is inherently good or bad. It is what you make of it. During this time, I saw the underbelly of our justice system, endured imprisonment and 8 weeks of solitary confinement, but very importantly, got to know who my real friends are. I learned a lot and was determined to come out of this experience a better person, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. I wanted to deal with this situation with dignity, with grace, with forgiveness, with humility, without anger or bitterness. I believe the last 5 years has made me a better person and better able to serve the institutions. Deepak Chopra, who of course does not need any introduction. He has been the pioneer in integrative medicine, in wellness, and personal transformation. He's the most intellectually curious person I've ever met and consistently challenges existing paradigms. I witnessed his own personal growth as the foremost expert in the world today of consciousness and existential questions of life. He's a prolific writer, author of 85 books, and has done more to put India's heritage, philosophic contributions, wisdom on the world stage. He brings science, the wisdom of our sages. In the last few days, I finished reading this book, his latest one, You Are the Universe. I must warn you that it's a heavy reading, but does completely transform your thinking about who you are, your place in this universe. I highly recommend it. I've asked Deepak today to give us an initial talk to address his own personal journey. And one topic I think you will find interesting as to what he thinks, what is success? What is success in this world? What is a well-led, purposeful life? And then of course, I would like him to address his latest book, which is about consciousness and the universe. Apart from all this, Deepak is a true friend. He stood by me all these 25 years through the ups and downs, and even more in the down times in the last 5 years.
The timer, is that timer also? You don't want to go over time? Huh? Okay. So, thank you, Rajat. Yes, this is an enduring friendship and will continue to be an enduring friendship. And I can tell you that the secrets of a good friendship is you hold the back of your friends all the time. You accept them, you pay attention and listen to them, you express your affection, your appreciation, and you accept them exactly as they are. And that's what we do with each other. So it's been a privilege to be a friend all these years. So I'm going to speak only for about 10 to 12, maybe 14 minutes, and then we can have a conversation. Rajat asked me to share my journey very quickly and where I am now in my life. I turned 70 in October, and so no matter what you do, there's a time when you confront the end of your chapters. And I'm in that phase right now. Not that I'm very healthy, but the fact is we all at some point have to confront our mortality and ask ourselves, what was the whole journey about? So my journey in the United States started in 1970 when I graduated from the All India Institute of Medical Sciences. And some of you may go back that far, I don't know. I left New Delhi in 1970 with $4 in my pocket because of foreign exchange regulations, if you remember. I had an uncle in London who lent me $100, so I had $108. And for those of you who are familiar with Indian mythology, 108 is an auspicious number. So I went to Paris and I spent it all in one night at the Moulin Rouge. And when I arrived in New York, I had no money at all. We used to have those collect calls. I made a collect call to my community hospital in New Jersey. And they were so desperate, all the physicians at that time in the US were in Vietnam, so we were being recruited in a big way. They sent me a helicopter, my first experience of the United States, lifting off in a helicopter, looking at Manhattan, and I had arrived in Wonderland. So in any case, I started an internship in a small place in New Jersey and went on to do neuroscience, neuroendocrinology, and the study of brain chemistry in Boston with all the academic centers. And I had a couple of insights as a physician. One was that you could have two people who had the same illness. They got the same treatment, they saw the same physician, but they had completely different outcomes. So I was convinced that our human biology was not an algorithm. Your computers and AI and augmented reality all may be algorithms, but our biology is not. And people have unpredictable outcomes. So that was my first insight. And the second insight was that because of my area of research, we were looking at molecules in the brain. And the second insight was wherever a thought goes, a molecule follows. So this was work I was doing, but I couldn't get it. One day I saw a little ad in the New York Times who had said if you have $5,000, you can write your own book, you can publish your own book. Vanity Press it's called. So I published 100 copies of the first book on the new burgeoning area of mind-body medicine. It was called Quantum Healing, Exploring the Frontiers of Mind-Body Medicine. And so even though it wasn't accepted at that time by the scientific community, it became a national bestseller, and then life took over. I didn't have any plans, but since then it's been a very amazing journey for me, so that today in academia, I think no one questions, they don't even call it mind-body connection, it's body-mind is one word, just like space-time is one word, and mass energy is one word, body-mind is one word. And it's been a very interesting journey for the last 35 years because today, you have sciences like neuroplasticity, you have epigenetics, you have the whole understanding of the microbiome, and you can see how your mind, your consciousness, your body, your environment are actually a single activity. They're a correlated activity. The body doesn't operate one thing at a time. Your liver, your heart, your immune system, your endocrine system, what's happening in your mind as thoughts, feelings, emotions, desires, imagination, creativity, everything affects your body. So much so that now we have had collaborations with many academic institutions where we can see the practices that are known to people who are familiar with texts like the Yoga Vashishta or some of the Upanishads, or particularly the yogic texts. We can now document everything that happens in your body at the level of molecular biology, gene expression, and inflammation in the body through very precise markers. So today there's a science called metabolomics, where you can actually measure trillions of bits of data, trillions, not talking about billions, but trillions of bits of data, and then you have supercomputers help you analyze what's happening in a person's biology at the very fundamental levels of DNA expression, transcriptome expressions, enzymes, and we have now done published work that shows that it is possible for a while to reverse human aging, and the future of what we call well-being is very good with all the devices we have, with monitoring of the brain, heart rate variability, bioregulation, virtual reality, augmented reality. All these things are coming to our aid now, so that in 5 years from now, it's very likely, if all goes well, that you will not get a prescription, but you go into a studio and have a VR session to get inflammation out of your body, or you'll have a guided meditation which will change your brain waves, decrease inflammation in the body. It's come full circle. Technology has validated everything that we knew through the traditions of yoga, through, if you read Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, Dhyan, Dharana, Samadhi, Yama, Niyama, Pratyahara, Pranayam, Yogasana, each of these have very precise biological correlates in our body. To the point where we have documented now in peer-reviewed journals things like what happens in a week in your biology through a meditation retreat, for example, or through, if you go through modified forms of what was called Panchakarma in India and still is called Panchakarma. So there's now a science for a consciousness-based biology that looks at human aging, that looks at reversibility of disease. So I predict that in 5 years, you will have medicine which is very precise, which is very personalized, which is predictable, which is preventable, which is participatory, and which is process-oriented. You have to start thinking of human biology more as an activity than as a thing. Your body is constantly recycling. So the body you're using right now to listen to this lecture wasn't the physical body that you had 5 years ago. And that is so interesting because you can change an activity through modifying what happens in a 24-hour day. Eating, breathing, digestion, metabolism, elimination, sensory experience, thoughts, feelings, emotions, desires, personal relationships, social interactions, environment. It's one system and it's all measurable. So this is a great era for what I thought was we were pioneering in the 1970s. I and a colleague of mine who was at the NIH, we coined the word molecules of emotion, and today it's an accepted thing. So all the drugs that are actually being researched now are based on the molecules that your body naturally produces. epinephrine, norepinephrine, dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, all these molecules are actually the representations of what's happening in our consciousness. So as the years have progressed, not only has biology changed, where body-mind are used as one system, what has also changed is we are looking at a very deeper understanding of what is the human experience, where does human experience happen, and how by changing experience you can change biology, and how you can use technology to take it one step further. So Rajat had asked me about, my definition of success, because I was never looking for success, and I'm still amazed that every day there's a new surprise. I just went with my gut feelings. I self-published my first book, and then after that, you can say, things happened very spontaneously in my life. I left academia many years ago in the Boston area, was associated with Harvard and Tufts and all that, because what I was saying was so controversial that I had heard rumors I would be fired. So I left before I could be fired. And now it's come full circle, and actually Rajat is advising me on my dialogue with many academic institutions on how we are going to go into the future of research in this area. Success. I think many people define success as fame, fortune, driving ambition, hard work, creativity, startups, and the like. And I've realized that that's a very important part of success, but success is more than achieving your goals. In my opinion, success is the progressive realization of worthy goals, but it is also the ability to love, to have compassion, to cultivate deep friendships, and most importantly, to get in touch with the creativity that is inherent in your consciousness. So I'm not talking about the mind, I'm not talking about the intellectual process, because creativity is not an intellectual process. Creativity is going to the source of thought, where it's spontaneous, and that is understanding consciousness. Therefore, for me, the highest definition of success would be to be in touch with your creative center at all times, with love and compassion. That combination can almost solve any problem that you have in society. And so that has been a passion of mine, to see full circle how our ancient great seers talk about the four goals of life: Artha, Kama, Dharma, and Moksha. And I would say that is success, to have maximum success in the material world, but also to enjoy your relationships and exercise your ability to love and have compassion and empathy and joy. And then also to see how you fit in as a human being with the elements and forces of the universe, which is an ancient concept in our culture, which is dharma, and finally moksha, which is the freedom from all conditioned thought. So my last book is actually about the two basic fundamental problems in science today. Number one, what is the universe made of? And without going into details, we don't know. 96% of the universe is mysterious dark energy and dark matter. 4% is atomic, but atoms are also waves of possibility. So the bottom line is the universe is made out of nothing. And the second big question in science today is, what's the basis of human consciousness? And we don't know how that happens too. How molecules in the brain and neurochemistry generates this experience. These are huge problems in science, and unless we address these two problems, what is fundamental reality and how is consciousness connected to that, we'll be struggling for the next few years right now with what is happening in our world. Eco-destruction, extinction of species, climate change, and all the problems that are going to come with social and economic injustice that is so rampant in our world. So my message to all of you, my friends, engineers, is that you're actually going to have to lead this by creating technologies that harness the best creativity of our collective mind, that not only enlist maximum diversity and open sources and transparency and emergence. We do have the capacity today, for the first time, despite all the problems that exist there, to create a collective consciousness through technology and through education for a more peaceful, just, sustainable, healthier, happier and joyful world. That's my mission at this stage in my life, and that's what I will do for the next 10 years. You realize that when you fulfill all your goals and you have no more goals, then if you put your full attention on service, the entire world is there to help you out, and you can harness the creativity of just about everyone. And Rajat has been a big supporter for me, and I thank you, Rajat, for that. So that's happening.
Okay, while Rajat is asking or having a dialogue with Deepak Chopra or this audience, any questions, could the volunteers collect them and bring them across to me? Write out your questions and give it to the volunteers. Raise your hand. Raise those who want the...
There's a mic on.
Raise your hand. Volunteers on this side.
You can, so first of all, there are many critics these days of technology, but because we have technologies that also create damage in the world. We've created nuclear weapons and biological warfare and cyber hacking and all of that. But technology is here to stay. I believe that it's part of human evolution, and we are at the cusp of some very major breakthroughs in technology. Like voice recognition, somebody was talking to me about that, facial expressions, you saw the session on the actors, the artificial animation actors. So very soon, we are seeing the applications of how technology, virtual reality, augmented reality, nanotechnology, nanobots, and bioregulation or biofeedback devices, along with many other technologies that connect you to the circadian rhythms of the earth and adjust the lighting so you can reset your biological rhythms, is going to totally revolutionize the way we do medicine. But what I'm also finding in academia is people work in their silos and they don't know what's happening outside, or they're very competitive. And those of us who study emergence, we find that if you bring together a group of people from diverse disciplines, not just engineers, artists, basic scientists, consciousness experts, musicians, and microbiologists and mathematicians and neuroscientists and geneticists and microbial experts, you bring them together, you give them a task, and very soon they have a solution, a creative solution. This is the time, using our technology, to create those open source systems where we maximize the creativity of the world.
I want to take the maximum number of questions from the audience, so I'm just waiting for these cards. Can I have them? So one question is, how people working with computers should increase their empathy and emotional quotient?
You can send a kiss or a hug or an emoticon to somebody in South Africa and give them an immediate dopamine hit. Actually, in our leadership training, we actually have these sessions where people come together and they harness emotional intelligence by noticing how they can help each other. I mean, that's the most important thing that one can do in corporate leadership, is to notice people's strengths, to complement their strengths, to have shared vision, emotional bonding, and create great teams. And that's being done already in many places. Those of you who know LinkedIn, Google, etc. It's a big part of the culture now.
So how can meditation in everyday life for an ordinary person be helpful, and what's your advice on that?
So, you know, people have lots of misconceptions about meditation. Of course, there are hundreds of kinds of meditation, especially in the Eastern wisdom tradition: self-reflection, self-inquiry, mindfulness, awareness of body, awareness of mental space, awareness of relationships, transcendence. Let me show you something very simple, okay? That you can try anytime. I'm going to ask you a question and I'd like you all to say yes as the answer. Agreed? Okay, here's the question. And the answer is yes. Are you aware?
Yes.
A little more enthusiastic.
Yes.
Are you aware?
Yes.
Okay, now this time of course you're aware, otherwise you wouldn't answer my question. But I'm going to ask you the same question, but this time don't answer it till I raise my hand, and then equally enthusiastically say yes. Are you aware?
Yes.
So are you aware is a thought? Yes is a thought. In between is consciousness. I'm going to ask you again. This time don't answer it, just slip into who's listening to me right now. Are you aware? This is meditation. To be aware of the observer in the midst of the observation is the highest intelligence. That's all. It's the presence in which all experience happens. Anytime during the day, if you get distracted anytime during the day, just ask, am I aware? And shift into the observer, which Krishnamurti used to say, to be in touch with yourself without judging yourself is the highest intelligence. Automatically things start to shift.
What happens after death?
It's a human construct. There's no such thing as death, just like there's no such thing as birth. Birth and death happen to an experience. So right now, you're having an experience, right? 5 minutes ago is dead. A minute ago is dead. A second ago is dead. By the time you hear my words, what I said has happened. So the past is not here, the future is not here, and the present can't be grasped, because as soon as you grasp the present, it's over. So that's why, you know, the German philosopher Wittgenstein, he said, our life is a dream. We are asleep, but once in a while, we wake up enough to know that we're dreaming. And what do we wake up to? The presence, the consciousness, the awareness in which the dream is occurring. And it's not a big deal. So again, just turn your attention to that which is listening right now. See, that presence is not in time. So birth and death happen all the time, but the presence is not in time. So, I mean, that's why the Vedic Rishi said you have to realize that death only comes with the concept of birth. The true self is never born. No, Bhagavad Gita, water cannot wet it, wind cannot dry it, weapons cannot shatter it, fire cannot burn it. It's ancient. It is not born, and therefore it does not die. Formless, consciousness is formless. It has no form, and yet without it there would be no experience of form. So it's the ontological primitive, and it is not. What happens to the space if the building falls down? What happens to two people if they are conversing on the phone and somebody cuts off the server or the lines or whatever? They're still there. So awareness, which is our fundamental state, is not in time. Birth and death happens to an experience, including your body, which is an experience. You had a baby's body, that's dead. You had a body last year, that's also gone. This is 2017 model. Every molecule in your body today, every atom in your body today wasn't there. 99.9% wasn't there a year ago. Okay, so the last time I came here, I brought the same suitcase but not the same body. I mean, this is the most fundamental thing you have to realize. Your body is an activity in consciousness. It's being born and it dies all the time. But awareness itself, which is the basis of the Jumbo Council, is the ontological primitive. Just to clarify that, there are two views right now. Everything is matter and everything is consciousness. The view that everything is matter is falling apart because, as you know, matter, as you chase it into the realm of subatomic activity, matter disappears. All particles become waves, and waves don't have mass or energy, they're just possibilities. So consciousness is a field of possibilities, which is your fundamental state. Now in India, in the Vedic tradition, we say Jivatma. So Jiva is that part of the formless ontological primitive that recycles in time as energy and information. Everything recycles, right? Molecules recycle, energy recycles, matter recycles, even plastic recycles if you leave it long enough. So consciousness also recycles.
So I have about 50 questions, so we're not going to get to all of them, but one or two last ones. Do you believe in the scientific method? And if so, how do you apply it to validate today's world?
The scientific method is based on a loop: theory, experiment, observation. Now, cosmology is done through telescopes that are out there in space, making observations that go back to the Big Bang, gravitational waves, etc. But one thing you have to realize is science is based on what is called a subject-object split. So there's me, the observer, and then there's that which is being observed. That subject-object split is artificial because the universe is a single activity. The subject-object split is a human intellectual split. That's why science can be both divine and diabolical. If you want to take science, the next step, it has to be consciousness-based science, which means science and spirituality have to come together. In which case, we can actually even do things we thought were impossible, like repairing the ecosystem, resurrecting the extinct species, etc. We need a new story for science right now.
Last question. There are lots of young people in the audience. Most, 99.9% are younger than the two of us. They are beginning their journey in life, unlike where you were planning out your last 10 years or 15 or 20 or whatever. What advice do you have to them in terms of how they should live their life? Any thoughts on, okay, here's the wisdom of the sages coming down through the book?
Number one, be authentic. Don't pretend to be who you're not. Number two, have integrity, which means be true to your word. Don't make promises that you can't deliver. Number three, have a cause which is bigger than yourself. As long as you have a vision which is not about you, bigger than yourself, you will see that amazing forces come to help you. So have a vision that is bigger than yourself. And finally, this is an era where maximum diversity, strengthening the strengths, complementing the strengths of others, having shared vision, connecting emotionally and spiritually, you will become the entrepreneurs of the future. Because the entrepreneurs of the future are going to not be asking what's in it for me, but what can I do to help.
Well, I think we're very fortunate as all of you will agree to have Deepak here for this session. Deepak, I want to really thank you for taking the time and enlightening us, and we hope you'll come back again and again. Thank you very much, Deepak.
Questions got be answered, but thank you so much.
And Deepak will also be doing a book signing outside, so you guys can go and get your books.
This came to me that people have been Hinduism actually Islam comes and patriarchy
Right after the challenge to come up with multiple different ways of playing something when you're improvising at the same time. So you're always teaming with ideas, is what I've found. After playing sitar or after you get lots of ideas. Now most of them might not work, but you
programmed to technology, excellence, anything. But we have different passions, like we have music, running is a passion. So my one message to myself and to you all is follow your passions. I also run a kids camp listed, and the other thing, like Devesh also said, that journey step is the first step. So how do you run a marathon? You put first step, another step in front of that, another friend, do it about 50, 60,000 times, and you cross the finish line. It's as simple as that, really. And training and journey is a reward. So let's go to the next one. So what happens is, first thing, the number of events that happen in our lives, the intersections, you can travel the beaten path, or you can travel the road less travel. And when you travel the road less travel, it makes all the difference. So I started with IIT Kanpur. Came there, nobody had the internet or connecting computers. So I was there and I thought, a couple of other people, why don't we connect computers together? So I wrote a paper in 1967 Spring Joint Computer Conference. Hey, how about if computer talk to each other? Everybody kind of laughed. There were a few people who were interested. Then the Department of Defense, Advanced Research Agency, they said, we'll fund this project. So I connected my computers, wrote the FTP in 1971, and some of the early emails, and then, want to get a job in India. There was no computers really, or anything, forget about networking. They said, oh, computer, we have a job, sell IBM computers. So हमने कहा पढ़ो फारसी बेचो तेल देखो किस्मत का खेल. They came back and worked on the ARPANET internet. They joined Xerox Corporation, working on the network system and getting advanced. And then one of the things that occurred to me, my grandparents were freedom fighters and working there, they told me not forget the poor. Please spend some time for their well-being. So I said, I'm going to devote one. Before they passed away in 1969, they passed away in 74. I remembered, I said, I'm going to devote 1 year of my life working for the poor. So I left after 13 years with my family. My wife is there, Sadel. She's there. She's American. She went there, so we worked in the villages, 3 kids, near the city of Allahabad, around the vision. Best year of my life. Started biogas plants, some windmills, building on microfinance, getting people best things. There was not a single country. Sanitation project, wonderful. WGBS NOAA program, did a program in India, machinery, about 20 minutes were devoted on what I was doing. And so my passion for that remained. And I remained by the time I got back, as social activist helping poor in India and over here. So the idea is to give back and work for Xerox. And after that, Xerox was getting out of all these network systems and workstation and Windows business. I said, what do I do next? I used to ride my bicycle to work. Then I moved to Palo Alto, it was 2 miles away. They moved it 8 miles away. I still riding my bike to work. Best ideas come. They said, how about, and early 1990 was coming. I said, how about if you green Xerox Corporation and green rest of corporate America? So I wrote a 17-page proposal to the CEO and said, hey, we can reduce our pollution to 20% over the days. At the same time, add $1 billion to the bottom line in 5 years. So he said, what does it take? He said, give my salary and give me a budget of $500,000. He said, done. Okay? So I started the environmental leadership program, and very successful. We saved about $2 billion over 5 years in different ways, and that's another story. And I'm on a soapbox, and it was just like, I would pay to do that job. When they were paying me, that was fine. It was not met the bills and anything, but I would pay for it. And I would do it voluntarily, and in fact pay and contribute money to do it, because that's your passion. You want to make the world clean. You want the air you breathe. You go to India, right? How is the air in Delhi? 10 of the most polluted cities, or the 20 or 15, are in India. Why can't we choke with this all visited away? And I think the idea is to drive with your passion. So after that, environment leadership, I started some companies. Okay? One semiconductor equipment manufacturing, one email software, all successful, moderately or something. And then one of our friends I was supporting as an activist, Subbarao, who led the largest surrender of dacoits in India, 654 dacoits in Chambal Valley. He said, I'm doing a Gandhi camp here. why don't you help and volunteer? My kids had grown up, they were in college. So in 94, I said, I commitment, I'll come. My company was getting funded. I told the VC, this week I'm in Gandhi camp. Let's postpone it to 2 weeks later. They said, okay, they expected me for it. We got the funding. But as soon as I went there, working with your kids, many of you have kids, it changed my life. It just gave me new perspective. And every year since 94, I have taken 1 week, no matter what I'm doing, to go to Gandhi camp to be with them. And I learn from them. I learn from the people you work for. So where is the learning coming from? From each other. And after the entrepreneurship, IIT alumni, IIT Kanpur alumni first, and then Penn IIT when it got formed. They said, hey, why don't you help grow that? And I said, okay, it'd be nice if alumni got together with each other, learn from each other, and have a lot of fun. The main element of these things is fun. And then in 2001, Asha for Education group, they invited me. I was involved with the forming of Asha for Education in 91-92. With Sandeep Pandey, Deepak Gupta, and others, they came to me. And we did that. So they said, please give an inspirational speech why we should raise money for education. And spur of the moment I decided I was going to be 57, I'm going to run a marathon. And I came back and I said, my dad had a heart attack when he was 54, all my uncles had a heart attack when they were in mid-50s, one of them died of a heart attack when he was 56. I said, oh my God, what have I done? I came home and told my wife, I said, I'm going to run a marathon. She said, no, you're going to run by yourself. I said, what do you mean I'm not going to run by myself? I'm going to run with you. So she's an equal number of marathons. We trained together. And I said, okay, what next?
Us with inspiration and motivation to follow our own passions. With that, thank you all for attending.
One thing I always like to keep in mind. And actually, being an improvisational musician is a test in itself. You're on stage with a lot of people looking at you. The tabla player is not always friendly with you. And you're always forced to be thinking on your feet. That's a training in itself that helps you in a lot of other areas of your profession or your other things that you're pursuing. And ultimately, the main thing about music is, like Dr. Chopra said, spread the joy. I made these slides before listening to Dr. Chopra, not after. But yeah, it is the same message. So I think it applies to all the fields that we work in. If we can create moments of joy for ourselves and moments of joy for other people, then I think we will be successful. So we'll get warmed up with a really short sample of from my sitar album. If you can roll it for a few seconds. This is last 10 seconds of my album, we just had that much time.
Prasad, how many instruments were there in that piece we just heard?
Oh, just the sitar and the tabla. Okay. And the drone which is in the background. These days we use electronic drone, so you don't need a person to play that. Okay. Now, I think I was born a musician in some sense. I did my first solo harmonium performance when I was 4 years old. My parents taught me how to play harmonium. And my first lesson was that, as I look back, anybody starting to learn music or wanting to learn music, learning keyboard is the best thing to start with, because there is no holding the instrument, there is no tuning the instrument, and the most important thing is you form a mental map of how many spaces to the right is going to result in a certain change of sound, to the higher frequencies to lower frequencies, and that mapping that rolls out in front of you really helps you. When you learn instruments like sitar, you can't really see your fingers. Then I learned sitar from various illustrious gurus I mentioned there. When I was in IIT, I started learning from Ustad Abdul Alim Jafar Khan sir. And that completely changed my perspective. That changed the way I looked at sitar. Like Dr. Wayne Dyer says, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And that happened to me. And I was so much into sitar that I thought of being a full-time sitar player for some time. Until my parents got worried. And they convinced me that finding a job that actually pays is not such a bad idea. So then I went back to this profession, and I appreciate that now as a parent of kids. Now the main thing about being mentored by great people is that you're looking for inspiration as much as instruction. It's not about having a regimental thing that you're going to memorize and play in the improvisation music. It's more about inspiration. It's more about finding your own state machine, if you will. And for an instrument like sitar, there's a lot of degrees of freedom as opposed to harmonium or other instruments. Which means that the same set of notes you can produce in 10 different ways. Those are called the alukas of sitar. And with the right technique, it triggers your creativity. And your creativity enables you to explore more in terms of technique. So it's really important to have a really, really good mentor for you. That's another lesson. And that enables, and most importantly, I mean, you might ask with YouTube and with so many videos online, why do you need a guru? The answer is a feedback loop that you need. Sometimes we don't know what we're doing wrong or if we're doing anything wrong. So you absolutely need that. And sitar itself is a very fascinating instrument. I've done some talks about the sitar and its own physics in terms of what creates the tonal quality, what creates the magic of the 4 octaves and so on and so forth. But this is what we will not get into today. So it's a great instrument if you want to try it. Can you go to the next slide? Now, you practice as much as you want, but when you're on the stage, it's always the unexpected. Almost always, you're going to have to deal with something that you didn't plan, especially because it's an improvisational art.
Encountering in the next 50, 100 years. And this is where reciprocal innovation comes in. Reciprocal innovation in I'm sorry about this slide, it didn't quite come out the way I wanted. But essentially, the reciprocal innovation changes the framing of innovation. Innovations used to be developed here in the Western world, in San Francisco, and in Seattle, and DC, and New York, and other parts of Europe. And then they were parachuted in to Africa, and Asia, and Latin America. And they did wonders. Vaccines have done remarkable jobs of treating diseases in these countries. But that does not work any longer for several reasons. That I had talked about earlier. What the reciprocal innovation does, which is different from the traditional model of innovation, is that it flips the focus of innovation. The need has to be identified in the region where the needs are. Let's say this particular town that I talked about in KwaZulu-Natal. It actually brings the solution from ground up, but it brings in partners from around the world as needed. No longer are the problems understood on the ground, but then solutions are being developed in the labs here. That is no longer going to work. So if we can do this together, if we pool our resources together, my hope is that we can reach that utopia up on the left side, where we have a lot of resources, we have pooled together our resources, we have abundance of resources, but the problems are few. Thank you. And share with you something I'm working on. My coordinates are down at the bottom. But before, did you have the clicker, Anurag? Oh, this thing? Yeah. So before getting into conversational AI, I'll share with you a little bit about my journey. I met my wife, and I discovered AI. Went to Yale, got a PhD there. Yale was interesting, particularly for an engineer like me, to be in a liberal arts college and be surrounded with the human side of things that helped me appreciate psychology, design, philosophy, and you'll see as we go along that this played a role in my learning. So from there, I joined academia, became a professor at Georgia Tech. I started the cognitive computing lab, And the idea was to look at the human side of AI and bring technology together with cognitive science. We did 4 startups out of Georgia Tech. 2 acquired, they're on the slide. 2 failed, they're not on the slide. But it gave me the taste for driving innovation into the real world. And what I learned was that having an idea isn't enough, you have to execute on it and make it real. Came to Xerox PARC, I worked on mobile health, I'll show you one slide on that, and then now at Amazon. So I'll share with you a couple of these steps. At Open Study, this was a startup we founded with my wife, Rita, she's up there. She's in the audience if people want to talk about that. We built a site where students could come together and study together online. And when we started to see this sort of hockey stick growth, I realized something really interesting. What was happening on this site was these students talking to each other, chatting with each other, helping each other in real time. They didn't want to read textbooks and look at Wikipedia pages. They wanted conversation. The same thing happened at Xerox PARC. I was working on mobile health. We built a health app to help people adopt healthier lifestyles and change habits around diet and exercise. And I noticed the same thing. If you notice down there, there's a bot in this app called FickleBot that would talk to you like as human as we could get it. And people really engage with that. People like the idea of chatting with these things. People like conversation. So fast forward to conversational AI. Here's the vision of conversational AI. For decades, we've been typing to our computers and our different kinds of machines. We have remote controls and other things we keep typing on. For the last 10 or so years, with the advent of smartphones, we've been touching and swiping and zooming and pinching on touchscreen. And about 2-3 years ago, when Echo launched, we suddenly had voice and mouse. The technology was there earlier, but now it became mainstream. And what hit me was this realization that for years, we've been learning how to communicate with our devices, our computers, our thermostats, our VCRs, our cars. We have to learn their interfaces. Why can't we have machines learn to communicate like us? When I'm talking to you, I'm communicating with you, I'm not typing at you, I'm not touching and swiping, I'm just talking. And you're talking back. Why can't machines do that? So that's the vision of conversational AI. Let me introduce Alexa. Here's Alexa. People know Alexa? Alexa, introduce yourself.
I'm Alexa and I'm designed around your voice. I can provide information, music, news, weather, and more.
So Alexa is this agent that sort of lives in the cloud, is with you. It's not in your phone, it just sort of lives there in your house or your car or whatever. And we'll get into that. And basically does everything for you. He plays music, will read you books, manages your shopping, sets alarms and timers, gives you information, weather, traffic, local information, answers any kind of questions, controls your house, turns off your lights, locks your doors. In fact, there are now 14,000 skills developed by third parties. You get order pizza, get cappuccino ready for you at your Starbucks, play games, check the bank account, she does everything. So all of these things are done just through voice. You don't have to pull out apps or learn interfaces. To me, again, from the human side, it's much less interesting to look at what technology can do and more interesting to look at what people actually do with the technology. Right? The technology gives you all of this, but what are people actually doing? So some of the use cases, a lot of music, a lot of smart home, a lot of shopping as you'd expect. Most Alexa devices are used by multiple people in the house, which is interesting. It's the first device for years, first computer for years that is not a personal computer. It's an AI, it just lives out there. And it's part of your family, it's part of your environment. And what we are seeing is that voice is becoming the new user interface. Right? You play music, the house is too hot, Alexa, turn the temperature down. Right? Check your Fitbit statistics. Check if your doors are locked. Program the Dish Network to record a movie for you. Check what's in your fridge, your car. It's everywhere. And that completely changes the game on how you interact with it. So the vision is to have all of our world be voice enabled just like we are. And that's where we hit the roadblock. Language is hard. Language is the hardest AI problem I know. It's very surprising, it's paradoxical almost, because we find it easy. A 5-year-old can talk to us. What could be so hard about that? Let me walk you through why language is hard. There are 4 key problems you have to solve, which we are working on the Alexa team and other teams in other companies working on similar products. The first problem is figuring out what you said. So Alexa sitting in your house, you have a bunch of friends over, they're talking, music is playing, somebody says, Alexa, play some Pink. So Alexa now has to recognize someone speaking to her, pick up the voice, zero in, and figure out that this person wants to speak, wants music played by a band called P!NK. Hard problem. Figure out what do you mean. If you said, Alexa, is it hot outside? The answer is a no. What you really meant was, what's the weather like? You didn't say that. Alexa, wake me up in the morning means set an alarm. You didn't say that. People don't say what they mean. So we have to figure out what you mean to get you an answer. Here's a hard one. Let's see if people know the answer to this. Alexa, who was the president when Obama was a teenager?
Clinton. Richard Nixon, Ronald Reagan, Jimmy Carter, and Gerald Ford were the U.S. presidents when Barack Obama was a teenager.
You can't just do a search on the web and find this information or look up Wikipedia somewhere. It doesn't exist. You have to understand what the question means. You have to parse out the time frame, go find the pieces of information, assemble it together into a simple sentence that sounds natural when a human hears it. And all of that has to happen in about half a second. Another question, I won't go through a demo here in the interest of time. You have to keep track of what we all know. When you're talking to each other, there's a lot of shared context. If I said, who's Barack Obama? He was the 44th president of the US. Who is his wife? I didn't tell you whose wife, but we both know we are talking about Barack. Right? When was she born? I haven't even mentioned Michelle yet. But we still know who we are talking about. Right? When was he born? Now we know it's Barack again. How do you keep track of who we are talking about and what we all know? Here's another one. People know this one? Yeah. Alexa, what's 42?
42 is the answer to life, the universe, and everything. The trick is knowing what the question is.
This relies a lot on shared context. And if you didn't know what I was referring to, this conversation would make no sense. Same with Alexa. Right? She has to know and understand the world around us like we do to communicate with us. And that's one of the hardest parts of AI in the language field. And then finally, what's an appropriate response? Alexa, should I watch Wonder Woman? The answer yes or no. Is the answer a movie showtime? Is it an IMDb movie rating? Are you asking, is it appropriate to watch because I'm going with my child? Right? The possibilities are endless. So I'm running out of time, so I'll jump over this. If this was a tech talk, actually I'm doing a tech talk next Wednesday. If people really want to get into how Alexa works in a lot more detail. So I'll jump over this, but basically we're going to take your voice, figure out you're talking to us, stream your voice to the cloud. We don't want to listen to you if you're not talking to us. Put it through speech recognition, language understanding, AI, and get you an answer. And we try to do that in under a second. So if folks who want to play with Alexa, there are some 3 ways to get involved. People have software, apps, and other services. Alexa Skills Kit lets you build a voice interface to your app. It doesn't take 6 months of boot camp to learn how to do it. You can do it in a weekend. I know middle schoolers who build Alexa skills. Very easy. If you have a hardware gadget, you want to put Alexa into your own device and not have people buy Amazon's device to use it. You use the Alexa Voice Services API. And finally, for entrepreneurs, I know there are a bunch out here, we have a fund that will fund interesting voice-enabled experiences all the way from seed stage to large rounds of follow-on funding. And I'll end with my last slide. This is what I'm currently working on. The Alexa Prize is a competition for university students to build a capability for Alexa to allow her to interact with you, converse with you naturally, so coherently and engagingly for 20 minutes. And there's a $1 million prize if you can cross that bar. And I hope I've convinced you that this is really hard. We have 15 teams competing on it. If you guys would like to try it, pick up your favorite Alexa device and say, Alexa, let's chat. And you'll be able to talk to these teams and see what they're doing. Thank you. I'll stick around. If you have questions, come find me. 99, lives in Udaipur.
the first thing he does is he throws his walker behind the sofa. He doesn't want me to know that he cannot walk. He stands up, straightens his back, stands up, and gets out however painful it is to get up from that sofa. It is about dignity, it is about restoration of that dignity, and that is something that I've found interesting for a very, very long time. I started an aerospace undergrad in IIT Mumbai, ended up doing biomechanics and implant design, ended up doing robotics, ended up doing medical physics, so a lot of different things, but all sort of driving around how can we use difficult, hard technology to influence the physical world. So here's an example of a project where we've tried to do something, leverage, let's see if this works. It's not moving to the next one. Let's try again. Somebody, okay, great. All right, let's see here. Let's see if this starts. Yeah, so this is a project we did recently, just to give you an idea of us trying to do something.
We're at Alameda, just outside San Francisco. And we've been making a robot ride a motorbike.
This is not a modified motorcycle, it's a stock motorcycle. There's no tail. Fully running by itself. And the question is, how can we use this to start influencing people's lives?
We're going to be racing down the Tino Rock City.
Moving on to the next one. So let's see if it gets to the next one here. Let me move to the next slide, please. Yeah, there you go. All right. So, how do we take something like that, which many of us here have been working on, self-driving algorithms, planning, perception, mapping, and deal with this problem? By the way, if we think this is a Western problem, we're completely mistaken. India is full of nuclear families now. The whole world is changing. How do you get somebody to take care of you at home? My dad lives there. I deal with this problem all the time. There isn't enough support at home as there is here. And the problem is particularly bad there because here, there's been 2 or 3 generations or 5 generations where we've been used to taking care of ourselves. There is no ADA there. There is no things there. So this problem is real. How do we take care of my grandfather? That was one of the questions we came up with. Now, how do we help create robots or other things that can help them stay safely in their home and do it at a price point and a cost point that is effective? You can't do everything. You have to be smart. I think many of us have seen exoskeletons. Many of us have seen Avatar, the movie. You see them in the news all the time. They're wonderful, amazing things that can help people who are paraplegic walk. My grandfather would never wear one. It would take half an hour to put it on. He would put it on, in half an hour his body would start hurting, and then he would take it off and it would be even more embarrassing than the walker. While this is an amazing technology, and I love them, that's not what we did. So one of the things we asked was, do we build Iron Man? Or do we build Spider-Man? Now, if any of you know, transmitting mechanical loads over soft structures like clothes is a very, very difficult task. It just doesn't work. So what we did, we had a DARPA program. DARPA is an Advanced Defense Research Agency that did the internet, did the DARPA Self-Driving Challenge, the Robotics Challenge. We were asked to be able to walk a soldier wearing an 80-pound bag for 8 hours on something flexible. That's where we first created our first spider suit. Something very flexible that can move. Now, how is this related? In the next 2 minutes, I'll just talk about how is this related to what I just showed you. It uses ultra-fast sensing. It uses a GPU built in there to process exactly what's happening in the body at what time, including EMGs. It then applies, instead of a 100-pound load, a 10-pound load at the exact microsecond your toe is stepping off. This is using Moore's law to its maximum capacity to impact the physical world. It's a very, very different way to look at things. So we know that the physical world is limited. We know that the batteries can't be strong, but we know Moore's law can make a very, very big difference. So that is one of our areas. So I'm going to go quick fast through a couple of these. And let's say, okay, sure, so we built everything fully ready, but our goal is not, we want to build something my grandfather or my grandmother could wear. We want to wear something that can go under your clothes so that everybody can wear it and nobody else knows you're wearing it. It restores dignity in a way that an exoskeleton never could. So we started a company, this is currently doing very well, this product will be out in the market next year, that is actuated clothing, designed to help somebody get up out of the sofa, walk stably, cook. Standing and cooking is very hard. It also has other applications in sports and many other places, but we're starting in a place where the world needs it the most. Let me give you another example, and I'll end with this one in the last 3 minutes here. This is another area that we worked on, again, out of the robotics group. We started with a very simple thing. You rub a balloon in your sweater, put it on a wall, it sticks. And we magnified that force 1,000 times. It was a simple thing, so we tried that. We created an electro-adhesive device that just automatically in microseconds can hold anything from a bag of chips without breaking the chips to a soda can. All right.
What we have here is
you try some crazier things. You create a wall climbing robot.
It uses the electro-adhesive tracks that I showed previously, only this time it's around a motor and it spins around and the robot gets traction from it to climb on the wall. And so we have...
In the interest of time, I'm going to keep moving here, but you get the picture. All right, so we said, great. Now, we can create a company out of this, which has nothing to do with healthcare, just to be clear. And this has to do with the fact that there are thousands of people in sweatshops picking up clothes in all over the world, and this is a very hard problem. No robotic system can do the manufacturing of clothes easily. But we can, because we can pick soft substances. We're going to go, okay, so we're going to make some money. We created a company, we raised $30, $40 million. This is doing great. Nike's using it, everybody's using it. They're migrating away. Life's great. This is good, but this isn't solving the problem I want to solve. What we also want to do, we're a nonprofit. We want to have a return, but we also want to make impact. So what I'm going to show you to end is the talk from Hugh Herr, which is at MIT. It's a TED Talk, a little excerpt from it, to end this session. And it highlights how that exact same technology is being used in something that he's been designing to help something. And this is just to end this up. And this is somebody who lost their leg at the Boston Marathon climbing, and this is exactly 1 year afterwards. And our little piece of technology that's doing everything else is also in that little foot. Turning on, off, in a microsecond precision, which you cannot do with anything mechanically.
Sometimes you don't, sometimes you need it, and you don't.
This is what we want to do in the physical world. Thank you very much for your time.
Partner at Lightspeed, and I have the greatest pleasure to have my senior partner at Lightspeed and co-founder of Lightspeed, Ravi Mhatre, here with me. So thanks, Ravi, for taking the time.
For having me to speak.
Absolutely. Thank you. So Ravi is a pretty well-known name in the IIT community, having backed the most number of IIT alumni founded companies. He has been in the news quite a bit lately, so thanks again. But let me just hit a few highlights for those of you who don't know Ravi or hasn't followed his career in the last few years. So he started his career as a software engineer and then ran a product management group at Silicon Graphics early in the day. And then 17 years ago, he co-founded Lightspeed to invest in enterprise IT, mobility, and internet-based applications and services. So while Ravi has backed a number of companies over his long venture career, I just wanted to take a second and call out the IIT alumni founded companies that he has backed from day one. Nutanix, AppDynamics, Rubrik, ThoughtSpot, Cosmix, Qbolt, AirSpring, The Find, Phoenix Data, Bromium, Zscaler, probably several others coming.
There may be.
He has also been recognized on the Forbes Midas list for top venture capitalists, and earlier this year was ranked 6th by New York Times among 20 top VCs in the world. And the last but not least, Ravi has a BS in electrical engineering and a BA in economics from Stanford and an MBA from Stanford Graduate School of Business. So unlike most of us, Ravi does not have the pleasure of remembering his AIR from his IIT JEE days, but we'll not hold that against you.
Well, the one thing I was going to say is I'm really glad my dad was an immigrant and came to the U.S. because from the statistics, if I had to try to compete on the IIT entrance exam, I may not have gotten admitted. It's easier to get into something than it is IIT.
Absolutely. So, on that note, Ravi, talk a little bit about your background. I know you grew up in multiple different places. Your dad was one of the first Indian origin entrepreneurs back in the day. Help us understand how that has influenced your outlook and what you do.
Yeah, he was, and I won't spend too much time on it, but I had, as I've gotten older, I've really, come to appreciate, at some level, my origin story, the path my father took. He grew up in Mumbai, did his undergrad in India, and then he came to this country in the 50s. A little bit ahead of his time. He did a PhD in biochemistry, so, like people from the IT community, he was really, his background was in science. He was a scientist and really, and an engineer. And, he ended up getting into business a little bit unexpectedly. He got an offer he first was a research scientist in a lab. The company he worked for had a failing business, and they, asked him to go take a look at it because it was a fairly technical business in the biochemistry area. And he did it, and he had some success, again, without any formal training. We heard from some entrepreneurs actually earlier today on a panel. He was thrust into it and managed to succeed. And then basically, I think maybe because he was an immigrant to this country, he sort of decided he would go take whatever opportunity was made available on the business side. And because of that, he picked us up, my brother and I, and my mother, and moved us all around for different business opportunities that he was, whatever he was able to get. He had an opportunity. We lived in the Middle East for 4 years, running a very early life sciences business, and this was in the 80s. When I was in high school, he moved the family to Europe, and he was running a life sciences division of a large pharma company there. And then some tech that had been spun out from Stanford. There were basically 3 research scientists associated with, at the time, the company he was working for was a large pharma company called Becton Dickinson. They're based in New Jersey, but they had sort of said, hey, you're sort of a scientist, you know a little bit about business, come out and shut this thing down that we somehow got involved with out of Stanford, and then you can come back. He was actually going to be the first non-white Anglo Section 16 officer of Becton Dickinson. It was kind of unprecedented. It's a company where it kind of has a sort of white Anglo roots. And so he had a great opportunity to really become an established executive at a very reputable company and, kind of live out his career there. And we moved out here, and I was sort of, watching him, come home in the first sort of few months and really just, thinking that we would only be in California for a year and then move back to New Jersey where we had been before. And towards the end of the year, I remember him, talking to me and saying, Ravi, I think there's really something to this science, this basically research that's coming out of Stanford, and I think it can be something. And I thought California was nice, but I had friends back on the East Coast. I was ready to move, and I was like, really, Dad? And he basically had that same conversation with the powers that be at Becton Dickinson and said, I think there's something here. And they said, well, if you decide you want to do that, then you should assume that there's not a place waiting for you to be an executive at, back in New Jersey anymore. And oh, by the way, if you really want to do that, you need to find some money because we're not putting any more money into it. And he, to his credit, he went around and he found money at that time. This was in the early 80s. He couldn't raise venture capital. Venture capitalists were not doing a lot in life sciences, and he just looked too unconventional, which I'll get back to later. But he found a way to get a loan from a bank to, keep the lights on and pay the salaries of the few early employees. And, long story short, he stayed, he passed away a couple of years ago, but stayed basically in Bay Area, in Silicon Valley for the rest of his career. And I watched him grow this sort of fledgling, really more kind of research-oriented idea from 3 or 4 people into a business that was more than a $500 million run rate and several thousand employees. And now as venture capitalists, Sudeep and I, we work with very early stage companies that start with one person or a handful of people who may not even be incorporated. And really, I have a lot of appreciation for the journey he took, both as someone who was not native to the U.S. who came here, and I think had to break through a lot of the kind of glass ceilings that existed, and just be the person that he wanted to be, and embrace the fact that he was different, and made that a strength as opposed to something that he was going to let hold him back.
Yeah.
So that really impacted me, and that sort of caused me in many ways to become, I think, the person that I am, and we'll talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll come back to that point in a second. But you started your career as a software engineer.
I did.
And you then transitioned over to becoming a venture capitalist. What made you do that?
Yeah, I think some of that really is, I was definitely very impacted, obviously, by my childhood growing up and watching my father basically make that transition. And I think as a result, I was always very curious about business. Father, I didn't really have a choice except to do something in science and engineering when I was in college and had to get paid for. But I did like engineering. I started my career as an engineer, as Sudeep said. I think at some point I really was curious about whether I could be successful in business. And as a result, I went back to Stanford Business School. I spent a few years in the technology industry running a product group, and then my entry into venture capital was I was still relatively young. I was I think 29. And there was someone I met in the VC industry who really became a little bit of a mentor to me, the original person who got me into the industry. And what he said was, if you want to learn about business, I will spend the next 2 years teaching you about what startup businesses look like, some of the things, give you a crash course in what you need to look for. Because I was thinking after Silicon Graphics, the company I first went to, I would go join a startup. He's like, I'll teach you about a little bit about business, and then you can go back into the tech industry, and in the meantime you can work for me and help me find interesting companies to invest in. And I thought, great, this will be my opportunity to learn about business before I go do a startup. And long story short, I ended up working for this gentleman for several years, and then starting my own venture capital firm with some other people who I knew who were classmates from Stanford originally, and I've been in business now over 20 years.
And so you started Lightspeed 17 years back. What made you guys start yet another venture firm?
It's a good question because it's like entrepreneurship in the sense that it's better to what do they say in the beginning? The first time you do a company, there's a lot you don't know what you don't know, and it's good that we didn't know what we didn't know because it's been a long journey. It's been a really kind of amazing one, but a lot of highs and lows. We essentially were entrepreneurs in the VC industry, and our key thing, all four of us. We knew each other from Stanford originally. We'd all been in the tech industry as engineers, and then really gotten into venture capital each in our own way. And we'd all been in the industry between 3, 4, 5 years, and we realized that what we liked doing was really finding people who had technical backgrounds, who wanted to be technical founders, and we thought we really understood ways in which we could help those kinds of people build great companies. And there's a saying we've had since the beginning of founding Lightspeed, which is, and our roots are really much more in the enterprise. If you want to, have a company that is really successful, it's as much as about, business design and business model design as it is about, kind of product design and architecture design. And so we really have a mission and I think a strategy as a firm which says if we can find people who where we're really blown away by their technical aptitude and their technical vision and, some new architecture that they want to build that we think can be disruptive. We can't do that, but what we can do is we can really help those people figure out how to build and wrap around that, the most robust and, hopefully, the kind of arm them with the best possible way to build their business so that they can become, the world's best market leader with the technology that they're going to work so hard to build.
Got it. So then, shifting gears a little bit, you guys started Lightspeed, and then obviously you backed a number of companies in the space, in both enterprise and consumer. Which one was the first company founded by an IIT alum, and why did you guys back that person or that team? Surprises, lessons learned from that experience?
Sure, yeah. I'm pretty sure the first ITians that I backed were Anand Rajmaran and Venki Narayan. I think Anand spoke today earlier.
Oh, yeah, today.
But they actually were, I mean, unusual relative to most of the other ITians I've worked with, in that they had already started one company called Jungly. That was in the late 90s, in the kind of Web 1.0 bubble, and they got acquired by Amazon. I think Anand was basically Jeff Bezos' CTO for a number of years, and Venki basically started the Amazon storage business, which is a huge part of the profit of Amazon e-commerce today. So they had some experience, but I met them, and when they started talking about the idea for Cosmix, it really was, sort of along the lines. They wanted to build the world's first vertical search engine, and that meant that, today we sort of take it for granted, but at the time, this was sort of 2004, 2005 timeframe. If you typed a search into Google, you got one set of results. So if you typed in as a good example, heart rate, you could get everything from, kind of the Mayo Clinic to, something like a heart rate monitor. And the search was very linear, and so their idea was, hey, can we create a search engine that figures out when you type in heart rate, you probably, want to know something about, cardiovascular health, and if you type in, flight time, it turns out the results you probably want are about travel. So they wanted to build this thing called a vertical search engine. And what I realized at the time was technically it was going to be an exceptionally challenging problem to solve. Anand and Venki are brilliant, and they had an amazing network of actually a lot of other ITians that they brought together. And so, it was a little like, we felt like if we could really deliver this technology, it would be obvious to consumers that it's so much better than the state-of-the-art for search experience that, the business would take care of itself. So that was the beginning of the story. I guess if you want to know how it ended, the lesson learned, don't compete with Google in their core business. Google actually is a very amazing company. They have, I think, 80 or 90% share of the search market. I think they probably have 80 or 90% share of technically the best computer scientists in the world as it relates to search. And it was just sort of the rising, kind of water level in the tank over the 4 to 5, or maybe it was 6 years that, Cosmix that was in existence. Google just steadily got better, and their vertical search wasn't perfect. They did enough of it that it became very difficult as an independent search company to, try to get enough users or get enough distribution that we could succeed as an independent company. That being said, Cosmix ultimately was acquired by Walmart. It was a very successful outcome for the founders, for the team, for the investors. And today, Walmart bought Cosmix not because they wanted to be in the vertical search business, but they, understood that if they were going to compete with Amazon, their existential challenge was to find the kind of amazing technical talent that, most of you sitting in the audience represent. They needed that DNA. They needed to bootstrap it quickly because in Walmart, this company in Bentonville, they just didn't have the caliber of computer scientists that would allow them to build, the kinds of services that Amazon had online. So, long story short, they acquired Cosmix. Cosmix today that was basically the anchor stone of what today's Walmart Labs, which is, I think, about 3,000 or 4,000 employees. It's sort of in Burlingame, but it is basically the kind of where the technology crown jewels are developed for Walmart, and it's actually allowed them to take share back from Amazon in online commerce, although they're still, I think, probably small relative to Amazon.
So then, I'm also curious, later on, from that experience, you went on and moved and invested in companies like Nutanix, Rubrik, Zscaler. Any anecdotes to share with us, like how you found those teams, what made you jump in when many of the other VCs already had passed on those companies?
Each story is a little different. Nutanix, I met Dheeraj originally through Bipul Sinha, who I think was on an earlier panel today. He had joined Lightspeed. I had recruited him to Lightspeed, and he made an introduction when Dheeraj and his two co-founders were really just a few months into starting Nutanix. But yeah, the question of, and Rubrik, obviously, people were on the panel heard the story. Bipul actually was an investor at Lightspeed and decided to start a company.
And the minute he did that, I was sort of very regretful that he would not be a partner at Lightspeed, a full-time partner. He's actually still a venture partner. But on the other hand, I was sort of like, well, if Pitbull's starting a company, I just found the best investment opportunity I probably could ever have. And Jay Chowdhury started Zscaler. I originally met him through, I think, through the TIE network. My father was an early charter member of TIE. But yeah, the sort of origin stories are all a little different. Dheeraj and Bipul were both, when they started their respective companies, they had not been founders of companies before. Both of them had, experience working in the technology industry. But again, if you really, for Lightspeed, we view kind of where we have differentiation and what our core mission is in the venture capital landscape. If we can find people who we think are really, again, technically gifted and have, have a bold idea about how to build some new architectural stack that can change an industry, we feel like we can be the kind of partner that helps with creating the business that can ultimately go be the leader in the market. And in both the case of Dheeraj at Nutanix and Bipul at Rubrik, that kind of premise held very strongly. So it was a really obvious, I think, kind of fit for us, given the kind of investing we do. In the case of Jay, Jay had started a company prior to Zscaler, so he was more experienced, but very similar. Jay, when he started Zscaler, he had a very strong point of view about some technologies that he could bring together in a way that they had never been brought together before to create this high-performance web proxy in the cloud. And he thought if he could build that, he could change basically the way most basically web security was delivered to enterprises. And it was a pretty bold idea. When he started the company, nobody was thinking about the security being delivered from the cloud. It was something people were sort of like, enterprises will never buy that. And he really believed that this technology could be so much better that the product that he delivered, people would kind of have to buy it. And so we sort of were believers in that. He had more business experience, so he got the original business going, and that was the time that we invested. But very similar kind of story in terms of where the company originally started from, and what their differentiation was when they got to market.
Got it. And that's a perfect segue into my next question, which is, a lot of us, virtually all of us here have been trained as engineers, and many of us here, want to start companies or are aspiring entrepreneurs. In your experience working with IIT founders, what would be your advice in terms of some of the first steps that an engineering founder, a technical founder should do in terms of as he or she is thinking about starting a company?
Well, yeah, and there's lots of different ways to start companies, but I will say, my experience has been with ITians, you've been through an amazing journey in terms of just probably getting accepted to IT and the technical training you've had there, and also the experiences you've probably had working at the companies you're working at. So, you should play to that strength. And what I mean by that, the kind of companies, I feel like I'm being a little bit repetitive, but there are a lot of companies that have been massively successful when, the first principle is, hey, can I have an unfair advantage around a problem space that I'm familiar with and designing basically a new architecture that is going to change the way that problem gets solved. And I would say that, for a lot of you in the audience, if you want to start a company, if you have a desire to be an entrepreneur, thinking about the things that in terms of technical problems and the way you've been solving them, and if there's some way you think that designing a new architecture could really change the rules of the game, that's probably a great thing to spend time thinking on as part of this notion of, do you want to start a company? Yeah, there's real value that that can come from having a strong engineering background, and that for firms like Lightspeed is. Those are the perfect situations where we think we can be the kind of partner to help you get going.
And on that note, I remember when I was doing my first startup, and I very much felt I was a technical founder who didn't know anything about business. So one of the rookie mistakes we had made was, hire the first person who could spell business as the CEO of the company. So any advice on how we should think as engineering or technical founders about hiring salesperson, marketing people, partners who could help us build a company?
Well, yeah, I mean, I would say if you're a founder and your background is more from engineering or technology and you haven't done it before, then you really want to be thoughtful about how you do it. And there's no way to get the experience without actually walking the path. But the thing you can do early on is think about how to get some advisors and mentors that you feel have been through this sort of entrepreneurial cycle before, so that you and try to really absorb information from them. And I will say, with Dheeraj at Nutanix and Vipul at Rurik, who I've worked with now closely for a long time, actually they would be great mentors if you could find time from them. But they were incredible students of other people's experiences, and they used that to you can't avoid, you're going to make mistakes, that's part of the entrepreneurial journey, but to not, make obvious mistakes and to not, frankly, reinvent the wheel. I think that, that part, if you know you have strength in being, in technology, then really understanding that maybe the things you haven't seen before relate to some of, the other parts of building a business, and getting, and the IT community actually now, I think, has a number of people who've successfully built companies, so really, falling back on that community and trying to have, recruit people who can be advisors and mentors so that you can get the benefit of their experience. I think that's a key thing to think about, and a motion that if you do it well can help you be, a lot more successful than you might think at hiring the first salesperson or thinking about some of the business problems that you're going to have in addition to the technology and product problems.
So, having invested in definitely the highest number of alumni founded companies, is there a common thread in your mind in terms of the raw ingredients an IIT alum brings to the table, number one, and number two, the kind of partner both inside the company as well as the board level or investor level, that has really worked out in complementing, those raw ingredients in building a large company. So I'm curious if you can draw any conclusion from all these companies you have backed, where you thought there were some real strengths the IIT alumni brought to the table, and then there are some real partnership opportunities that they need.
Yeah. Well, definitely, I think if I think back on the companies we're involved with, almost to a one, the technical architectures and the products, are winners. Now that doesn't mean that we've succeeded every time in having the company really grow to scale and dominate a market, but really in all situations, and I personally think if you're doing anything in the enterprise, the product architecture, it does have to have some special superpowers, because otherwise the markets are so competitive and large established players are, it's very hard to kind of enter and compete with them. So I would say, with the ITs we back, usually we've been able to kind of develop a product that has some level of superiority in what it can do. The flip side, I think the place where, again, there is commonality in all of those situations. It's been, people who, largely, they didn't grow up in the U.S., so this is sort of, the second home, and there's cultural differences, and when you have to, build a business, oftentimes it's going to be hiring people who, may not be from sort of the community that, people of Indian origin, the people that you mostly spend time with, and so it can be a hard thing when you're sort of thrust into the position of, responsibility, where you really have to, be the person who hires, I don't know, a sales force, hires your first marketing person, hires, the customer success person, hires the CFO. These people will look really different, and knowing how to do that in a way that you hire the right people, and frankly then managing and creating accountability in an organization when it's not as simple as, maybe your batch heads from IIT that you've recruited and are, building the product, and it's almost an easy conversation about how you work with them. Those things, it's just, I'd say it's when you become an entrepreneur, if you have that kind of a background, the people like Dheeraj, you have to evolve in this other direction and get way outside your comfort zone and learn to be, a person who can really extend into other parts. If you want to be, ultimately a CEO and a leader of a large company, not just a founder, that's a significant personal growth journey. And I think
You know, and it's partly because of, you know, maybe my, you know, my personal background growing up, my cultural heritage. It's just, I think, you know, there's a certain amount of need, you know, for me as an investor when I work with IITs, it's partly about understanding that there's a lot of new things, new stuff that someone will have to do, and having the empathy to know that those transitions may be hard. They may be harder than for someone who, you know, grew up in the US and is just more familiar with the, you know, the other sets of people that are going to have to come into the company. And so it's a little bit like, I guess, you know, knowing and being confident that people from the IT community, I've seen it, I've worked with people, they can make that transition, you know, giving them a little more, you know, being there, being the support mechanism and saying, hey, you know, we believe you can do it, and you may make mistakes, that's okay, we're not gonna, you know, remove you if you make mistakes. So I think that's where, you know, it can be challenging, it can be very rewarding, you know, for people who, you know, who aspire to kind of walk down that path, but my learning is, yeah, it takes a certain kind of understanding as an investor to, you know what that journey is going to be like, and be understanding of the places where, you know, people may make mistakes and they need to be, you know, kind of supported through the tough times.
Absolutely. So throughout the day, and I think even earlier today, one of the panels, you know, people were asking like, yeah, I've had a great engineering career. I work in a large company today, but I'm dwelling on a certain idea for the last year or so. How do I get started? So your advice on any of that, like, you know, how to think about getting started, particularly when, you know, you're at a large company and, you know, have an idea from your experience working with some of these other entrepreneurs?
Well, yeah, I guess if I had to sum it, you know, be bold, think about a big idea. I think someone, maybe Jyoti said it on an earlier panel. If you're going to take your time and take the risk to go do this, figure out something that's big and interesting. Think about co-founders. If you are really strong in an area, you know, do some, I think Bipul talked about this, you know, think about the design of your founding team, and then go, you know, find the people in your network who can make you really, you know, robust as kind of an early team. Think about advisors, again, people who you want to try to do some planning to really sort of get that, you know, get that configuration right from the beginning. I mean, those are some key things. And, you know, look, the IT network is an amazing network. I mean, there's like 1,000 people here today alone. But, you know, another thing that we have seen in the ITs, we've had great ITs attract other great ITs. And when you get, you know, 4, 5, 6 of you from a batch who, I guess, have above a certain rank number, I mean, you probably are going to be a group of people who can do amazing things that, you know, most sort of groups of people in the Valley wouldn't be able to do technically. So, you know, be confident about that. That's a real, you know, asset that you guys and gals have. So, you know, think about that if you're going to start a company and how to leverage that.
Excellent. So before I open it up to the audience for questions, one very important question. So which one is the best IT in your opinion?
I think it's a pretty equal opportunity and back people from all. I think that's the politically correct answer.
All right. Can you talk about that? All right, we'll take questions from the audience. And please come up to the mic as you're asking.
This is probably a usual question that you get asked. Do you invest in people or ideas or potential for execution? And actually a follow-on to that is, do you kind of invest in things that you believe in, or as a pure investor, which is what VCs are you looking to hedge by also investing in things you don't believe in, just as a hedge?
Well, yeah. If I invested in something I didn't believe in, then
Well, I mean, for instance, you gave this example of cloud-based security, and okay, that was an interesting idea, but then there's a case to be made to go the other way too, and as a hedge, it might make sense to invest in both. Yeah, I mean, this is more,
the way Lightspeed's invest, the way I invest, when I say, you know, think of a bold idea, I mean, when they say that, you know, it's sort of, what's the most creative and bold ideas, you know, some people might look at them as crazy or insanity. So when I say, you know, for us, boldness is really understanding ideas that we think can be big, but it's certainly not clear at the time we invest. But we certainly have to be believers that that state of the future can exist. But, you know, the more important thing you asked, is it about the idea, is it about the person? And, you know, there's not, venture capital is not a formula-based business, and so when we're getting involved, usually these companies, they take anywhere from 6, 7, 8, sometimes 10 years to actually develop. And so you have to believe that the idea is a really interesting idea, and you have to believe that the person that is going to execute the idea is the right person to really, go make that idea happen. And so there's a little bit of, it's not one thing, but I'd say, the two things that are most important that we talk about all the time in our partners meetings are, idea, person, and do those two things, get us really excited. And the other comment about venture capital, it's a very personal business. So, as a partner, I have other partners, we do, I think we see, I don't know what the metric is, thousands of opportunities a year, and each of us as a partner maybe makes 1 or 2 investments a year. So it's very personal, and you're really, on the people side, you're looking at those people just like I think they're probably, as entrepreneurs, looking at you and saying, hey, do I really think this is a person, that I can get behind? That I almost emotionally can kind of invest in and really, just at every level. At Lightspeed, we're sort of saying we're the first investor, we're usually a lead investor, so we really have to believe we want to help this person succeed, whatever that's going to mean and whatever that's going to take over a very long period of time. So that's a big part of the calculus too.
Hi, I'm Surya, 98 IIT Madras. My question is kind of, you kind of glanced at the answer a little bit like since I started working out. But how do you measure the bigness or the boldness of the idea before deciding whether that's something that's, that we want to, apart from of course the passion from the founder and other things that you probably look for, definitely.
I guess it's like beautiful art, they say, you know when you see it, but a couple of examples. When Dheeraj and Ajit and Mohit, talked to us about Nutanix in the early days, they were saying, again, without getting too technical, you have this thing called a data center, and most of you don't understand this, I don't have to dumb it down, but in a data center, you really have, storage arrays, network switches, and servers, and there's no way to deploy an enterprise class application without buying, those 3 things. And their concept at the time, it was sort of, a lot of people in the industry said there's no way it'll work, but their idea at the time was, look, processors are getting fast enough, you have this thing called solid state storage devices. We're going to take basically just a standard server, manufactured in Taiwan or China, and we're going to basically write software that mimics the storage device, we're going to write software that mimics the network, and we're going to have basically software that runs, a virtual compute environment. We're going to put it all in this $50,000 box. And if we do that, it's very obvious. The value proposition is so obvious to an IT operations person. Instead of these 3 boxes that each cost $100,000, you're going to get this one $50,000 box and it's going to do everything. That was a bold idea. And it bordered on, something crazy because a lot of people said, well, it can't be done. It's technically too hard. You'll never be able to get the performance you need. And all of these sort of questions. And at the end of the day, we did our work and we sort of said, maybe today it can't be done, but if you look at the kind of trend lines for where, price performance is going on memory and Moore's law for kind of the gigaflops you can get out of CPUs and multi-core, it's possible it could happen. Maybe not for sure, but it's possible. And then we looked at, Dheeraj and his co-founders and said, hey, these people are pretty remarkable. And if you look at the kinds of distributed systems they've designed in the past, it's possible that they could actually build this and get it to work. Not, a given, but we sort of said, if you take these 2 possibilities and you put them together and they are successful, it could be very transformational to an industry that, IT spend on computing and storage is, I don't know if it's $500 billion a year, but it's some number bigger than any of us could count inside the partnerships. And we're like, we're in.
It looks like you're measuring the possibility and the pain point, essentially, to summarize, essentially.
Yeah, it's tough to do things that we found that are incremental. It's sort of like if something, and again, it's a judgment call, but it's worth thinking about. If you're going to start a company, don't think about how to be incrementally better, because usually, even if you can deliver something incrementally better, in terms of building, business model and business design, it's death by 1,000 paper cuts. If it's 30% better, and HP sells and they have a relationship with the customer, you're never going to get enough attention from the buyers to get on that kind of really steep growth curve.
And we'll take this last 2 questions, please.
Yeah, hi. I think you touched upon one of those big mistakes about going against established players. But I was wondering if you can touch upon some other mistakes that people may have made, like a good team in a good team, a good area, but they did some stupid thing and they went down the hill. That was one. And if you want to maybe give some tips on some areas that you think are worth looking into.
Sorry, some areas worth looking into?
Yeah.
Look, good team in a good area. I might have been people who referenced it earlier. If you're going to start a company, in particularly, in today's sort of times, competition is fierce. There's a lot of capital. Sort of life cycles for products are compressed. So